Most people believe the lie for most of their lives. The lie is simple, comfortable, reassuring. They believe they have time to slow down, time to fix what's broken, time to become who they were supposed to be. I believed it too. My name is Dave Ramsey. I'm 65 years old, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that time is the most misunderstood thing in a human life because it doesn't announce itself when it's leaving. It doesn't warn you. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care how busy you are or how important you think tomorrow's meeting is. It just keeps moving, quietly, relentlessly. For most of my life, I didn't notice it slipping away. Not because I was careless, but because I was doing exactly what I was taught to do. For the first 50 years of my life, everything looked right from the outside. I had a career that demanded my attention and rewarded my effort. I had responsibilities that made me feel needed. I had a calendar that stayed full months in advance. People respected me. They relied on me. They described me as disciplined, driven, successful. And I accepted that description without question, because success, when you're chasing it, feels like progress. You don't feel lost. You feel productive. You don't feel empty. You feel busy, and busy is one of the most dangerous disguises there is. I told myself the same things everyone tells themselves, that this phase was temporary, that the sacrifices were necessary, that life would open up later. Later, when things slowed down. Later, when the pressure eased. Later, when I finally had time. I didn't ask what those years were costing me. I didn't ask what I was postponing. I didn't ask what I was trading away, because when you're in motion long enough, stillness feels irresponsible. If this message resonates with you, if it feels honest in a way you don't hear often, take a second to support it, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. The day my heart failed, it wasn't dramatic at first. It was an ordinary workday, a conference room, bright lights, a long table, stacks of paper filled with numbers that felt urgent and important in that moment. Someone was speaking. I don't remember who. What I remember is the sensation that something was wrong. The room tilted slightly. My chest tightened. The edges of my vision blurred. At first, I told myself it was nothing. Stress, fatigue, another thing to push through. Then my body made the decision for me. I don't remember falling. I don't remember the moments after. I remember waking up in a hospital room, the sound of machines, the smell of disinfectant, plastic tubes taped to my arms, and my wife sitting quietly nearby, holding herself together. The doctors explained what had happened. They used calm, practiced language. They told me I'd had what they called a cardiac event. They told me how close it had been. And then they said something that stayed with me. They said I was lucky. Lucky, lying there, stripped of control, stripped of momentum, stripped of distraction. I realized something I had never allowed myself to face. If my heart had stopped for good that day, my life would have ended mid-sentence, mid-plan, mid-deadline, mid-promise, and all the things I thought mattered most would have vanished with me. The meetings, the numbers, the goals, gone. The company would have adjusted. Someone else would have filled my seat. The world would not have paused. And that realization was terrifying. Not because I was afraid of dying, but because I wasn't sure I had truly lived. Lying in that hospital bed with nothing to distract me, I understood something most people don't realize until it's too late. I had been living on autopilot. I had mistaken momentum for meaning. I had confused achievement with fulfillment. For decades, I had assumed there would be a moment when everything would slow down naturally. A moment when I'd finally arrive, but life doesn't work that way. It doesn't arrive. It just continues. And if you're not paying attention, it will carry you right past the things that matter most. We tell ourselves we'll live later. When we make more money, when the kids are older, when the pressure eases, when retirement finally comes, but later is a moving target because the goalposts never stop shifting. You reach one milestone and another replaces it. More responsibility, more expectations, more reasons to wait. I spent decades climbing a ladder I thought led somewhere meaningful. And only when I stopped climbing did I realize something painful. The ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. And time doesn't let you start over clean. It only lets you continue forward, carrying whatever you've neglected along the way. We're taught that success is the ultimate goal. That if we achieve enough, earn enough, accomplish enough, everything else will fall into place. But success is a terrible finish line because it doesn't satisfy the way we think it will. I reached the goals I set for myself. I earned the respect. I reached the positions. I checked every box I was told mattered. And each time, the feeling lasted a few days. Then it faded, and I needed the next achievement, the next validation, the next reason to believe I was doing the right thing. It's a cycle that feeds on itself, and it never ends unless you step out of it deliberately. A few years ago, a close friend of mine died at 62. He worked 70-hour weeks for most of his adult life, built a business people admired, provided well for his family. He always said he'd slow down next year. Next year never came. At his funeral, his son stood up and spoke. He said, "My father was a successful man, but I barely knew him." There was no anger in his voice, just truth. That sentence stays with you because most regret doesn't come from failure. It comes from absence, from the moments you missed, the conversations you postponed, the relationships you assumed would always be there. I don't lose sleep over business mistakes. What keeps me awake are the quiet choices that added up over time. The trips I postponed, the evenings I came home distracted, the calls I rushed through instead of really listening. Time doesn't disappear all at once. It disappears in pieces so small you barely notice. My father died when I was in my 40s. We had a complicated relationship, like many people do. There were things we needed to talk about, things we kept putting off. I told myself we'd deal with it later. When life slowed down, it never did. He had a heart attack and was gone within hours. No warning, no final conversation, no chance to say what mattered. Just a lifetime of later that never arrived. That's when it becomes clear. There won't always be more time. Not with your parents, not with your friends, not with your health. Time is passing whether you notice it or not. And once it's gone, it doesn't come back. After my heart attack, I changed my life. Not overnight, not dramatically, but intentionally. I stepped back from what didn't matter. I stopped saying yes by default. I started protecting my time as carefully as I once protected my career. And slowly, my life began to feel different. Not easier, but fuller. In the years since, I've learned something simple. What matters isn't complicated. Time with people you love. Work that feels meaningful to you, not impressive to others. Experiences that stay with you long after they're over. Presence, actually being where you are. If this feels uncomfortable to hear, that's not an accident. Because discomfort is often the first signal that something needs attention. And if this message resonates with you, if it feels like it's tapping something you've been avoiding, pause for a moment. Don't move on yet. This is one of those moments that asks something of you. Ask yourself this question honestly. If you died tomorrow, would you be satisfied with the life you've lived so far? Not impressed, not admired, satisfied. If the answer isn't clear, that matters. And if this is the kind of truth you need more of truth, that doesn't flatter but clarifies, stay with this message. Share it with someone you care about because these are conversations we don't have often enough. I'm 65 years old now. Every morning I wake up aware that my time is limited. That awareness doesn't make life smaller. It makes it sharper. It strips away what doesn't matter. Most people live as if time is endless. It isn't. Your parents are aging. Your relationships are fragile. Your health is not guaranteed. Time is passing quietly, one ordinary day at a time. The question isn't whether it will run out. The question is how you'll spend what remains. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't lecture him. I'd tell him this. Stop trying to impress people who won't remember you. Stop trading your health for approval. Stop postponing joy. Call your parents more often. Take the trips you keep delaying. Do the things that scare you but feel right. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what gives you life. And don't wait. The perfect time never comes. Life is always busy, always unfinished, always asking you to wait. But one day, it ends. And when it does, what you'll wish for isn't more success. It's more time. These last years have been the richest of my life. Not because I earned more, but because I finally paid attention. I'm happier now with less time ahead than I was when I believed I had forever. That's the irony. When you accept that time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop postponing joy. You stop living on autopilot. And you start choosing. The clock is already ticking. It always has been. So don't wait for someday. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait until life slows down. Because it won't. If this message matters to you, pass it on. Stay here. Listen closely. And ask yourself honestly, what are you doing with your time? Because one day, sooner than you think, it will be gone. And all that will remain is how you chose to live.